Disciple, and I'm here with you guys in a very spontaneous stream, right? So I didn't really plan this stream. This stream just kind of came as a result of a sequence of things that happened. So this is the stream that we're dealing with. Currently, as you can see, the stream's kind of breaking up. I'm sorry about that. We can get it probably a little bit cleaner. Let's see what I can do. Nope, this is not helping. It is what it is. I'm on YouTube this time, so the stream is not going to be the best stream in the world. I'm sorry about that. It's what it is. All right, so I want to share with you guys a piece of scripture before I get into what we're going to talk about, which is not going to be very long. Jesus was at a wedding. They ran out of wine. And so his mother asked him to provide some wine. And she told the people in the wedding, do whatever he tells you. So 6 stone water pots were standing there. They used it for Jewish ceremonial purposes, and they held 20 to 30 gallons of water. Jesus told the servants, fill the jars with water. When the jars had been filled to the brim, he said, dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. So they did that. The master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it came from. He called the bridegroom over and said, usually the host serves the best wine first. He said, then when everybody's full and doesn't care, he brings out the less expensive wines. But you have kept the best until now. I'm going to stop right there. So, the scripture is basically saying, and by the way, the scripture comes from John chapter 2, verses 6 to 10. Okay? All right, John chapter 2, verses 6 to 10. Best wine. You know, why leave the best for last? Not knowing this was a miracle. Jesus turned the water into wine. And there's songs about it and all that kind of stuff. And basically what I'm saying is that sometimes you have people around you who do things which are very, very miraculous. But because it's so easily done, we take for granted these people who are turning water into wine, giving us the best possible thing you could possibly get. And we don't appreciate those people. Jesus ultimately was crucified. He wasn't appreciated for what he was doing. And he was crucified. In so doing, gave us a second chance at life and freedom by atoning for us. But the point is, they didn't appreciate what he was bringing to the table. Human nature. Okay? Human nature is such, with the fallen man particularly, human nature I'm talking about, that he does not appreciate what he has. Currently, the Joe Biden regime, I'm going to go political on y'all for a second, is backing the Ukraine because their sovereignty was violated by Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine and started to take down certain cities and was trying to take their resources and stuff. And that was a violation of the United Nations Treaty on Sovereignty by countries. And the United States of America is supporting that. But you will not believe that fellow Americans are supporting Russia and hating on the fact that America is helping the Ukraine defend itself. You would think, you know, of course, with any war, there's a lot of profiteering going on, but the point behind it is, in this case, this is justifiable. A country's sovereignty has been violated, and so it has to be defended. That's the general principle. Anyways, people evil surmise almost everything. I told y'all yesterday that people tend to evil surmise things. I'm not one of those people who sides with Democrats or Republicans. You know, I see the evils in both, and I see the good in both. But my point is that people will evil surmise even good things that are being done. So, taking for granted what is happening before them, not appreciating what's happening before them. Jesus turned water into wine. Of course, the host did not know this. The miracle was done, but the host didn't know it. It was the best wine ever, right? And the point being, his mother knew he could do these things. So she was like, handle it. The point anyway I'm making is not that. The point I'm making is the ultimate end of Jesus Christ was his crucifixion. You know. Now, we tend to, and I'm guilty of this too, we tend to evil surmise our leadership, undermine. Somebody gets into leadership position, and I don't know if it's envy or jealousy or some sort of primal viciousness, just the evil nature of mankind. We tend to evil surmise our leaders. So the children of Israel going into the desert with Moses, they evil surmise Moses. You look at the first prime minister of my country, I come from Trinidad and Tobago, they evil surmised him. He eventually died of heartbreak. You just think about any person who takes up the mantle of leadership, there's always going to be people who are going to hate on them even though they can't lift a finger and do anything. Now I'm saying this because what I'm going to say next has to do with the Snyderverse, has to do with a particular individual known as Zack Snyder, who was hired by Christopher Nolan, put him on board to start the DCEU. You guys remember how tremendously critical and unfairly so a lot of people were in the industry towards Zack Snyder. It was just this relentless, you know, bashing of his creativity and of his movies, undeservedly so. And they never appreciated what he had brought to the table until many years after, 10 years after. They're not talking about Man of Steel is a great thing. And the critics, they panned it. Okay, the critics bashed it, called it loud and noisy and all kinds of stupid things. Even though the same guy who did The Dark Knight, Hans Zimmer, also did Man of Steel. And then they bashed relentlessly Batman v Superman. And I gotta say, the theatrical cut, I mean, a kid could understand the theatrical cut. It's not that deep. You know, it's got layers to it, but it ain't that deep that you can't understand it. And they bashed that too. And they bashed it worse than any other comic book movie. I think only now recently some comic book movies are getting bashed. And I looked at this and I was saying, this is lots of people, even the average person said this is undeserving of that kind of bashing. Zack Snyder's Justice League, that gets critical praise on the story many years after when he's proven correct about trying to follow the MCU formula and stuff like that. Now we have James Gunn. Now here's the thing. Zack Snyder, by day releasing the Snyder Cut, by Warner Brothers Pictures, in a desire to do goodwill towards the fans, releasing the Snyder Cut opened a tremendous Pandora box, because what they did was they made the fans anticipate this big showdown between Darkseid and the Justice League, which would probably happen somewhere in the third installment of the Justice League. But what they didn't understand is they couldn't resist the fans. The fans at this point in time had gotten so relentless. We had a million tweets, I think, one time on Twitter where they were talking about release the Snyder Cut. And too much information was coming out. They needed to do damage control. So ultimately, in the end, they did release it. Whether they wanted to or not, they were going to, because the fans were bombarding everywhere. I mean, anything they tried to put out, the fans were overriding it. Now, we got the Snyder Cut. Thank God. It is, again, like wine. It's like fine wine. And people will be like, why did they release this instead of Justice League 2017? Why did they give us the cheaper wine? Why did they give us the not best wine? So people have been asking that question. And then on top of that, we have had people who've been like, okay, so where's the sequel now? So a lot of people are asking that question. Now, if you've ever been a DC fan, and I've more or less been a DC fan most of my existence. All right, we're going to get interrupted by an asshole who's going to come up the street making a lot of noise. So you're going to have to excuse me for a second. I'm going to have to do a pause. I'm so sorry I had to do this pause because I was really getting rolling. But in this country, man, people are assholes up in here. They just do things ad hoc. So can you hear the noise? And the clowns just makes a lot of noise. People are very noisy here at times. The place is generally quiet. There's two sets of them. There's one doing scrap iron and there's another one doing fish. And weirdly, they're doing it in the morning. Usually they do the fish in the afternoon. So it's just like there's always a cuss, and I don't want to cuss, so I'm not going to cuss, but there's always a degree of like screwing up things. You can tell in this country. And I'm shooting right in my living room. I'm not shooting in the studio right now. I'm shooting in my living room. So you're going to get all the background noise ever possible. But let me get back to what I was saying. That you have to understand that the atmosphere is one in which people were anticipating something even greater. In fact, after the Snyder Cut came out, people were pushing for Restore the Snyderverse, and this is where we get the record numbers for Restore the Snyderverse before Ann Sarnoff comes out and says, we have no plans of continuing this. It mind boggles everybody because, as you know, if you've been a DC fan for almost all your life, I mean, the ultimate clash up in DC is Darkseid versus the Justice League. I mean, everybody knows this. We had Justice League Unlimited, and Darkseid was one of the big villains. It was Brainiac, Darkseid, and the New Gods, right? And it's a whole planet of apocalypse and stuff like that. So it was like, this was the moment where we were all going to get it. Then we see the teaser, we see the showdown. Oh, there's no turning back. Nothing you can do can top that. And so when they changed over the leadership, which they should have just kept Abdi and DeLuca, be honest with you, just kept them and just let it roll, you know? When they brought in James Gunn, and then James Gunn brings out his Slade, ain't nobody really care, right? I don't care if you are, I don't care. If you're a DC fan out here and you saw the Snyder Cut, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. You can't top that. There's nothing you can top. The only thing you can do is do a variation of the story, continuing it forward, but you can't top that. Now you got to understand when they're visionary directors and they change the game. Tim Burton changed the game. Christopher Nolan changed the game. Zack Snyder changed the game. He changed the game multiple times, right? He changed zombie movies. Zombies used to be, and Zack Snyder took it and made him run and all kinds of crazy things. And then he had 1,000 zombie movies after that, right? Dawn of the Dead revolutionized the zombie genre. Okay, Zack Snyder's that kind of dude. That's what he does. Watchmen revolutionized comic book genre. Zack Snyder did Man of Steel, revolutionized how people look at Superman, revolutionized the comic book genre. Batman v Superman revolutionized the comic book genre on steroids, right? So Zack Snyder's been this revolutionary director. Now he's doing Army of the Dead franchise over there, and he's also doing a Rebel Moon franchise. There's a lot of franchising going on, right? And of course, Martin Scorsese's not really into the franchising thing. He likes to see individual films that don't have no sequels and all of that, you know. But people are now telling bigger and bigger stories, like Lord of the Rings. You know, Peter, what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. He was a guy that revolutionized things as well when it comes to the Lord of the Rings, when it comes to the Chronicles of Narnia, when it comes to Harry Potter movies and so on. These are franchises. These are serials, right? And of course, you have also help me out here. Vin Diesel, Fast and Furious franchise, etc. Right? So anyway, my point is, you got all these franchises, and even the Joker looks like it might go into a franchise. The Batman might go into a franchise. So, you know, you got all these franchises going out there, but you don't have these individual movies. This is why, by the way, you guys need to go see Martin Scorsese's Killer of the Flower Moon, man. This looks like it's going to be good. That's definitely, of course, this weekend, coming. We'll have the Creator. That's another one I really want to see. Big budget because the technology has gotten more advanced, so more things. But it's really gonna be awesome to see that, and it's very organic. You know, it looks like it's something like really could happen. So that's what I like about it. I like realism, and the Creator looks great. And then of course Martin Scorsese's story is based on actual history, so that's gonna be great as well. I like grounded films. You know, something I can go into the cinema and gain something and get some insight into. You know. What we may be facing in terms of AI, or insight into some things that happened in the past that they hid from history, like it's not really there. And, you know, like Oppenheimer, I didn't get to see Oppenheimer either. But anyway, my point is, I'm not the biggest cinephile. Like, I don't go into cinema all the time, but, you know, I love to watch movies that really tell you something, say something, as Martin Scorsese says. But anyway, that's beside the point. The point is, the DC fans, and if you're a DC fan, I'm not talking about if you come across from Marvel or if you've been watching, if you're a DC fan, right? Or if you ever have been a DC fan. I mean, I used to watch the X-Men films. That's beside the point. If you are a DC fan, right, you would find yourself saying, oh, Justice League versus Darkseid. Smash the like button, people. If you're going to watch this video, smash the like button. You know you're watching it. Do me a favor and just click that like button. Thank you. So if you are a DC fan anyway, and you know that you've seen it with the animated series, you've read the comic books, you would be looking forward with bated breath towards the Justice League versus Darkseid. And the other thing you would like to have is some kind of crisis event happening, right? Because that's something popular in DC, right? So obviously, this is not rocket science. If you are delaying that process of having that for DC, then obviously people are going to kind of be like, it's like an anticlimactic kind of thing. They're going to be like disinterested, all right? Because nothing's building up to something, right? And what James Gunn put out there, it's not building up to anything, man. It's not building up to anything. We got to wait 10 years for it to build up to it. No, come on, man. Zack Snyder did this. He did it already. He did all of this already. You know, just like you kind of, Kal-El, what's up? Peace and blessings to you, man, Kal-El. Shout out to Kal-El in the building. It's kind of like, you know, you building up to something, and then they just pull the rug out of her. You're going to become depressed. You're going to lose some momentum. So this is what's happening. And what's replacing that, this is what I don't understand why Warner Brothers doesn't understand it. What's replacing that is not telling us anything. It's not like we're not shooting towards something. You know what I'm saying? It's a guy trying to figure out how to put together a universe in a reboot that ain't need rebooting. We need it continued. We needed to go on. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. I don't understand how this company is so stupid and clueless. Like they did it to Richard Donner with Superman, Richard Donner, and you hear Christopher Reeve talk about how the Scorsese video was fire. Yeah, man. Shout out to Martin Scorsese, brother. Shout out to Martin Scorsese. Yeah, you know, it's like they just don't get it. Like these people who don't appreciate film or not cinephiles, they don't appreciate what's happening. And like, so these are the people that do the business decisions, but they should really just butt out of they should butt out of the creative decisions, right? What worked for Kevin Feige ain't gonna work for DC. Just not gonna work for DC, y'all. It doesn't work with DC. It just doesn't, because DC has a history of really top-notch, top-class, top-tier material. Period. All right. You take 2002. Y'all know 2002. The DC movie that was put out. It wasn't. I think it was Vertigo at the time, but whatever. The DC movie that was put out was, hold on a second. I know it, but hold on a second. It's Road to Perdition. Road to Perdition is, first of all, there's nothing supernatural about it, but it is a comic book, all right? And it's from, I think it's Image Comics or Vertigo Comics. I can't remember which one. Y'all know which one it is, all right? Look at it right here. Road to Perdition, right? Road to Perdition. It's actually a comic, okay? Comic from the 90s. And you got to understand that, yo, you can't, that won Academy Awards, all kind of stuff, all right? And that was a DC movie. people don't say, but that was a DC movie. I'll give you another one. You can't move backward from V for Vendetta, man. Look at these movies here. These are all affiliates of DC, right? They actually were other companies. You got The Kitchen right here. You got V for Vendetta. You got The Losers. You can't go backwards from that. So if you got that kind of quality, if you got that kind of standard, you got that kind of cinema, ain't nobody gonna go watch. When you say DC, see, that's what Jeff Johns don't understand. That's why his movies don't do nothing, because first of all, he's not a filmmaker. You're not a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? Look at the quality of movies that we had with DC. Okay? Red 1 and Red 2. We got A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. All right? That had a little humor in it. But again, singular visions, you know? A History of Violence. Okay? When you talk about this is what the brand was doing. Okay? This is what the brand. So when you say DC, you better know what you're talking about. Okay? Look at this. Look at this. And we talking Academy Award winning films. Batman Begins. The Dark Knight. Watchmen. All right? You don't go from that, okay, to some sort of company committee made film that's cheap looking, you know what I'm saying? You don't go from that to that. You just don't do it. Okay? Look, I got more. We got way more. Look at this. Look at this. Constantine. Yo, hold up. Let me get it. Constantine. Okay? We got there Batman Returns. We got Batman. We got Superman. Yo, these are iconic films. When I heard James Gunn disrespecting Batman 1989, I was like, bruh, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're talking about game changer. Before Batman 1989, Batman wasn't taken serious because it came off of Batman 1966. Batman 1966 was, and in the comic, in the animation, we had Super Friends, all right? It was light, it was funny, it was jokey. That worked for its time in 1966 and before. But before that, they had more serious black and white Batman movies. They did have Batman movies before that, okay? But then Batman faded out, so they did Batman for 66. They went the other way. But after that, after the 60s and 70s, I'm going to tell you why the 60s, it worked for the 60s, all right? It was the time, all right? You have to make something relevant to your time, relevant to your era. So in the 60s, it was a hip kind of thing, and guys used to do all those little dances and stuff. Even though there was turmoil in the late 60s, in the early 60s, people used to get down and have fun and be funky, all right? They had all the funky movements, all the funky music and all of that. So the 60s was funky. So yeah, you have a groovy, funky, kind of like, what's the movie? Austin Powers, kind of Austin Powers like vibe. You know, you had a little shimmy and stuff, and you could get down, okay? Austin Powers was done in the 60s too, so you could get down, you know what I'm saying? Like The Spy Who Shagged Me, you know what I'm saying? It worked for that time, but it wouldn't work for this time because you got to understand, this is a different time. And you have to speak to the times. You got to speak and be relevant to the time. So when you try to go back to Superman 1978, to try to pull not the Superman, but the era, the timing, the way how people behave, and try to superimpose that on a 2023 time where we're dealing with AI, where we're dealing with turmoil in the world, where people are very, very alert to all kinds of information. There's an information super. You can't come with that. You just can't. You start talking about a world with naivety. Ain't nobody naive now. Little kids know more than me. Okay? So you can't come with that. It's not relevant anymore. And that's the problem with these people. They're trying to go back in a time and pull something that is not relevant, not pertinent to these times. You dig what I'm saying? And they're trying to use representation and stuff. They're trying to use a certain, and it's forced comedy because it's committee-led. See, a singular vision is always going to be more powerful than a committee-led vision. All right? And I already told y'all yesterday how Kevin Feige and they used to do things and still do things in Marvel, but they probably going to try, because they feel that it's more of a risk to let the directors do what they do and live and die on their own sword. But that's never been how Warner Brothers operated, even though they used to take away things from directors, especially in sequels. Hold on a second. All right, like I told you, this country's whack. Is what it is. Yeah. So but I love it, and it's a good place, and it's sunny right now. Okay, so I'm just letting y'all know. I'm not hating like that, but I'm just saying it's whack. So but my point anyway is this. All right, my point is this: that you can't have these high standards for your movies, and then you're gonna just drop your standard, and you think this is gonna work. Okay, so there's a lot of things I wanted to say, so let me try and get myself centered. So we were talking about James Gunn. James Gunn is coming in a situation where, first of all, James Gunn is more of a comic than he is a straight shooting guy, especially with superhero movies. I get where he's coming from, that superheroes can look, depending on how you look at a superhero, how you view a superhero, they can look wacky in the real world. Like you take a flamboyant looking Batman and you put him in the real world, he's not dressed in black. Like you see what Tim Burton did, and he's a game changer. Tim Burton fit Batman into our world, into a gothic world, made him all black. You know what I'm saying? Because when he did that, he put a sort of mystique behind him. He made him look scarier than if he was to just put in the Adam West Batman with the gray and stuff and be just shimmying around. He ain't look scary. He's not scary at all, right? So Tim Burton grounded Batman, made us respect Batman, made us fear Batman. That's what Tim Burton brought to the table. There was never, before Tim Burton, there was no Batman that would bring chills to you or scare criminals. Criminals didn't feel afraid of Batman. Okay? Tim Burton brought that to the table. Right? The Batman of the black and white era, he was still a gangster. He was more a gangster Batman. He would beat you to a pulp and shit, and you go in there and you beat up people, right? But he wasn't scary. Even though he was a weird creature of the night, he wasn't scary. You know what I'm saying? Tim Burton brought that scary, that you didn't necessarily feel scared. He was scared, but you felt like he could handle the Joker. He could match wits with the bad criminals out there. All right, the guy who makes you feel like you get the creeps when you saw him was Ben Affleck's Batman. How they portrayed him. You even were terrified of him. I thought he was gonna kill Superman. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I thought he was gonna kill Superman. I was like, this dude, he not good at all. He was so creepy. But like when you think about Batman, the Batman the Dark Knight was born with Tim Burton. Tim Burton made The Dark Knight, and he doesn't get appreciation for it. He laid out the wine, and everybody's been following that blueprint since. Christopher Nolan, Zack Snyder, Matt Reeves, they've all been following that blueprint, right? So, and it's been successful but it's Tim Burton that started this. Y'all, and let me just say, there was no dark suit, all black Batman with just a little red belt with a yellow bell button. There was none. That's Tim Burton, and making that Batman in 1989, that was his creation. All right, the Batmobile. There was no Batmobile that looked like that Batmobile. Not in the comics, nothing. That's Tim Burton's creation. And they came with those stylish Batmobiles afterwards. Okay? So I wanted y'all to understand how important Tim Burton is. Yes, he wasn't 100% comic book accurate because he was adding to the lore. All right? So when I hear James Gunn, going in on Tim Burton and going in on Michael Keaton, it really rubs me the wrong way because this guy is a game changer. It's like me going in on James Gunn for his Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I cannot deny this man was successful in what he did. I have to give him it for his genius in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. I'm not going to disrespect him for that. Absolutely not. You don't do that. Because I personally never created nothing on that level. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not going to disrespect him. You dig what I'm saying? Now, Martin Scorsese wasn't trying to disrespect anybody. When Martin Scorsese said, To him, Marvel movies are not cinema. Okay, he said it. He said it back in 2019. Okay, he wasn't trying to disrespect nobody. He went in the cinema. He sat down and he started taking in the movie, and he couldn't take it no more, so he got up and he left. He was like, "This ain't cinema to me. I'm out of here." You know, he said he tried to watch the movies. He said he tried. It's just not his thing. All right? And guess what? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He's not alone. As much as these movies made a lot of money, there's a lot of people who don't care about them. Okay? I'm one of them. I don't care about them. There are a few Marvel movies that, like one or two, that I care about in the MCU. Black Panther is one of them. At first, when I was sitting down watching, I was like, the same old crap, garbage. Here we go. Laughs, hee hee, ha ha. But then the movie changed, and I was like, okay, you got my attention now, right? Because I think the first 15 minutes of the movie, I wasn't interested in shit. I was dialed out already. But I stayed with it. I said, I'm gonna watch this thing. And as I started to watch it, I realized, okay, this movie's actually saying something. You know what I mean? So I stayed, right? I watched Ant-Man, pleasant movie, safe. Meant absolutely nothing. I left watching the movie entertained, but I learned absolutely nothing. I don't know how to explain this to people. You know, movies can feed your soul, right? Because the visual medium can feed your soul. My soul wasn't fed with nothing. I'm being real with you guys. Maybe it's just me, but when people talk about they're not interested in comic book movies, I get what they mean, right? And I grew up watching comic book movies in the cinema. I was a cinemaphile like crazy. Like in the 90s, man, I was going to the cinema all the time, to the 2000s, early 2000s, in the cinema all the time watching movies, right? And then I stopped because I had to go study, and then life got to me, and I hardly used to go back to cinema. But now that I got some time again, and this is much part of my work, I go to the cinema, I watch movies, I review them, etc., right? But ultimately, in the end, what I'm saying to you guys is that most people are not interested in comic book movies because to them, it's just like, it's for kids, it's pretend and stuff. And Marvel is able to capture, not the kids, but also the adults, get the imagination with the Avengers. But it's kind of like pretty much what people off the cuff would think a superhero movie is. Cut my connection. Man. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that certain movies out there are actually comic book movies, right? So, you know, some of the comic book movies you guys might know about is like Sin City. Sin City is actually a comic book movie. Actually, Sin City, I think, was written by Frank Miller. Okay? That's a comic book movie. And it does kind of look like a comic book, but I'm just saying. You got, I don't know how many of you guys know about Darkman. Darkman, that's a comic book movie. So there's a whole bunch of comic book movies that are not DC. They're Image Comics. You know, you got Spawn. You got, you know, just a lot. But what I'm saying is that, you know, a lot of times, I'm going to give you guys a comic book movie. Men in Black. Did you know that Men in Black was a comic book movie? You guys knew that? I'm going to give you another one that I'm sure you guys don't know is a comic book movie. Hold up. Let me see if I can find it. It's a comic book movie. Right. So you heard about The Kitchen. The Kitchen's a comic book movie. I got another one. It's somewhere in here. I don't know where it is. Point is, sometimes you see these movies which are based on real life, you know, and they're comic book movies, right? It's a comic. It runs. It's a serial, you know, but it's just mob dramas, whatever they are, you know. I say all of this to say this, okay? I particularly like Dick Tracy, but it was more comic book written. But I like Dick Tracy with Madonna and what's his name? I forgot his name right now. As Dick Tracy. So I liked that. And even though the guys were wearing like these prosthetics on them and stuff, I always liked Dick Tracy. It was very violent. That's what I liked about it too. It's like Dick Tracy was actually, it wasn't rated R, but it should have been rated R because it was pretty violent. You know, My point being anyway that when you have a history of doing excellence, you know what's the funny thing? They trying to copy the MCU, right? In terms of structure and how they do their movies and how they oversee each other and stuff like that. And the MCU is trying to copy DC. They was trying to copy what Zack Snyder was doing. In fact, Kevin Feige told the Russo brothers, oh, we need to change up Captain America 3. Captain America 3 was going to be something else. And they said, no, we need a versus film for Captain America 3. After Kevin Feige found out that Zack Snyder was doing Batman v Superman, and Jeff Johns fed him the information, whatever, the espionage that went on, he knew that they needed to step up their game. So if Kevin Feige knew that and told the Russo brothers what Zack Snyder was doing, just imagine Zack Snyder being influencing these guys. And even if you listen to certain directors, they will tell you that Zack Snyder, you know, they love what Zack Snyder did with Man of Steel. They love what Zack Snyder did with Batman v Superman. They're going to tell you that. The directors themselves will tell you that. The Russo brothers will themselves tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Now, does that mean that Zack Snyder's done with DC or he's done with Warner Bros.? No, everything's always open. You know what I'm saying? There's always Abdi and DeLuca there. I don't know how it's going to work out exactly because, you know, like I said before, Abdi and DeLuca, they are the head of Warner Bros. Pictures, but they're more concerned with original IPs, with attracting all these auteur directors like Denis Villeneuve and Martin Scorsese and Christopher Nolan to do original IPs or original pictures, right? That's where their focus is mainly at. But who knows how Zack Snyder might fit in that equation? I'm sure they would be happy for Zack Snyder to be across by them as well. Seeing what he did with Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is an epic that needs to see theaters. You know, they're talking about, I was listening to Garth Evans as he was talking about the creator and how it would be a travesty if you don't see this thing in IMAX or you don't see this thing. I'm like, yo, that's what Zack Snyder was saying. He's saying the same thing. This thing need to be seen in IMAX. You know what I'm saying? And I need to see it in IMAX. I'm so jealous of some people online. I was doing the poll, whatever, and they were saying that, you know, this movie, they seen it in IMAX. And I was like, what? They're like, man, and they're like, I'm going to pick something else. I saw it in IMAX. I'm like, wow. You know, because I'm like, I'm so mad because I haven't seen this in IMAX. I've seen this a small little freaking camera, you know, a little camera phone. I want to see this in IMAX, man. I want to see it in its big splendor so I can actually see more details because you can see more details when it's bigger. You know what I'm saying? And it feels more real. But anyway, it's what it is. I got a copy of it and I keep on watching it all the time. It's just, I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't tell you how many times I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. I love that movie. Yeah, the point is that James Gunn coming into the equation, it is anticlimactic. All right. Now, like I said before, James Gunn, he's excellent at what he does. What I would say, though, is what he does doesn't necessarily fit in to the audience that comes to see DC. He was a producer of Brightburn, which is a horror film, which I think his brother and his cousins put together. And Brightburn is an excellent film. In my opinion, it scares the daylights out of you, but it really makes a point about why Man of Steel is not dark. It's not a dark movie at all. You go want to see a dark Superman movie, Brightburn. Trust me. And they might build a universe off of Brightburn. It did make some money in the cinema. It didn't make a whole set of money, but it made some money in the cinema. It's quite a movie. I know they have The Boys and all that shit, but I don't really care about The Boys. Some of y'all are real hype on The Boys. I'm not hype on The Boys at all. I don't care about it. I do believe that James Gunn, I don't want to talk about his personal life. I don't know anything about his personal life, okay? But it is possible that he probably was abused as a child. And so this is his way of coping, and this is his way out of humor of making these jokes. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know his background like that. Is it possible that he's been, you know, feeding on stuff like that? So again, it's possible. I'm not going to talk about a man's personal life. Like, I don't know him like that. What I do know is the decisions he's making are not as exciting as what we're supposed to be. It's kind of like when you talk about Matt Reeves and his Batman series. Will I be watching Matt Reeves, any of Matt Reeves' Batman stuff? Probably not. Even though I'm intrigued by it, I am. But just thinking that Ben Affleck had a Batman movie coming out that would have blown blown stuff out of the water, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what I'm interested in. You know what I'm saying? And as Brad Curran said, if you guys watch it, Brad Curran writes for, what's he write for? He writes for one of those comic book anyway, one of those comic book online magazines. Okay, I just can't remember the name of it right now. But he writes such great pieces, and one of them is he's saying that if they keep on dropping nuggets from the Snyderverse, if they keep on dropping nuggets about Zack Snyder Justice League, if they keep on dropping nuggets about the Batman movie, if they keep on dropping nuggets about David Ayer's cut, these nagging things are going to really, really hurt the DCU going forward because they're not going to go away. They're not going to go away. And the more DC flops, the more, well, they're not going to have much of a movie. They're not going to have any movies in terms of the DCU until 2025, right? Which is right around the corner, by the way. It's less than 2 years away. Maybe it can go back to 2026, depending on the strike and whatever. But if they keep on delaying this, they don't understand the elephant in the room, or should I say the tiger in the room that can eat them alive. Because if they don't address these issues, it's just going to snowball into something worse. It doesn't matter how many DC fans say, oh, we're going across the rebel moon, and we're going to just pay attention to rebel. It doesn't matter what they say. Those guys always. There was a guy actually on Twitter. He said he's done talking about DC and stuff. He changed his name and everything. I'm not going to say who his name is. And he's still talking about DC. You can't get away from it, right? You can't get away from it. And, okay, so what I wanted to say was this. I don't know much about James Gunn in terms of his personal life. And I don't want to know. He's the head of DC right now. People are they're claiming that we're being too hard on James Gunn and all these things. I asked them this. I said, okay, just name one thing, one good thing that James Gunn has done for DC as of now. He made changes like how they would make changes in Marvel. He oversaw, I believe it's 3 movies now. He didn't oversee Black Adam, but he did oversee Shazam 2. He did oversee The Flash, and he did oversee Blue Beetle. And when we say oversee, he was like Kevin Feige. You let them do their movie or whatever. They go to a meeting. If the execs don't quite like what they see, then guess what? He's all over them. He's like micromanaging. He's up on the side. He's sitting down there with them as they're shooting or when they're doing post-production. You know, they're inserting jokes. They're doing, you know, Joss Whedon, him, Jeff Johns. They're up on the side. Just like what happened with John Berg and Jeff Johns when they started overseeing Zack Snyder's stuff. Then they injected Joss Whedon in there to do some writing. Nobody knew that Joss Whedon was in there doing writing. We only found out about that later, right? That's the same thing going on here, right? But it's not working. It's backfiring because it's not Marvel. It's not Kevin Feige. It's not Marvel. It's not Kevin Feige, right? When Kevin Feige got involved with Marvel, it was early. So people came to expect what a Kevin Feige style would be, what Kevin Feige, you know, and people talk about Kevin Feige all the time. In this case, in DC, that's not the case. Y'all been trying. The man people used to talk about was Zack Snyder, and all of a sudden the name changed, and it was Jeff Johns and John Byrne. And it changed again. It's like a revolving door. Well, to Armada, now it's changed again, and we got James Gunn and Peter Safran. One of y'all should have just stuck with Zack Snyder. Because Zack Snyder be doing it. He be doing it. You know what I'm saying? He had success after success right now with Netflix. All right? He's got a series of successes with Netflix. Right? He directed and produced Army of the Dead. And then Army of Thieves came out. And Army of Thieves was successful. And that was directed by a different director. Right? Produced by Zack Snyder. With the other guy. So that was successful. And then now he's going on to do the Rebel Moon thing. And that's going to be successful. So you have to ask yourself this question. If Zack Snyder was the problem or there was no leadership or whatever they were saying, then why is it that he's so successful across at Netflix? And people will say, well, it's not movies, you know, he's not really doing box office and stuff. No, but he's not having any problems with Netflix. Netflix and him, they don't seem to have a problem, period. Whereas he had problems with WB and the different execs and the different management. Right? So I don't understand that. But anyway, going back to James Gunn. So James Gunn, just name one thing. I'm not trying to be like hating on the guy. I'm willing to give him a fair shake. I'm giving him a fair shake right now. What has he done? And then he keeps on changing the goalposts. So the first thing he said was, the DCU is supposed to be rebooted by The Flash, right? Then that didn't happen, right? And then, you know, he was talking about Shazam was supposed to be one of the, maybe or may not be one of the DCU characters. Okay, right, whatever. Then he talks about how The Flash was supposed to reboot the DCU. Then he changed his mind. Then he comes, he says Blue Beetle is the first DCU character, which he maintained that. The movie flopped. And he maintained that. He said Blue Beetle's going for it, but Blue Beetle is going for it. So at least that is true. But then he goes on to say there's nothing canon about everything's in flux until Creature Commandos. He says, you know, there's nothing canon before, but you're using the same Peacemaker, using the same Amanda Waller, same. So they're canon. They're coming forward as canon. So you can't say that. So he doesn't even know what he's doing, to be honest with you. He has an idea what he's doing, but he doesn't have it crystallized. It changes as the films come out. Which is, I'm not faulting him too much, but I'm just saying, what you really doing? You know what I'm saying? What you really doing? You're giving the impression that you don't know what you're doing. So that's all I'm saying. I know what he's doing. I know where they're going. He said Superman's going to be a serious film. He's going to play Superman straight. You don't know how to play a character straight, bro. You don't do that. That's not what you do. You do comedy. You do smutty, edgy comedy. That's what you do, at least for film. You're not going to, if you go into, and this is another thing that people don't understand, right? People say, well, you know, this is satire and whatever and whatever. Let me make this abundantly clear. You can't call something satire if it makes people cringe. You can't call something satire. You can't even call something a joke if it's backfiring. You know, go up, be a stand-up comic. Go out there and start telling your jokes to people. And if they start booing you, guess what? You wasn't funny. Get booed off the stage, you ain't funny. All right? For comedy to work, it gotta land. Again, let me say it again. For comedy to work, it gotta land. A lot of people talking about how people are cussing and punching out comedians and stuff like that. Well, hear what? You gotta know who your audience is. You want to do stand-up, you want to run your routines. That's why comedians do their routine to sharpen it up, to refine it, so they know what is funny and what is not funny. That's why they play before crowds. Before they go on tour or they do their big come out, they have their test things. They go test out their comic acts to see how funny something is and when it's not funny. You get what I'm saying? Because that's the thing about humor. If it ain't funny, then if you get clocked in the face for it, it's fair game. That's just the way how comedy works. You know, people talk about, you know, and they talk about the comics got to fear for their safety. The thing about it is, you're the one making the joke. So if you make a joke and it's not funny and it backfires on you, somebody comes up to you and smashes you in the face for it, that's part of the game. That's part of the game. You think what I'm saying? If people don't find it funny, now you got a problem, right? And that's the thing. A lot of comedians need to understand that there are consequences to not being funny. I know people are not supposed to come up and sock you in the face. They're not supposed to do that, right? But your comedy is what's supposed to disarm them. You're supposed to be able to tell them hard things or introspective things about themselves and reevaluate the world while making them laugh. If they're not laughing, then it's on you. You know what I'm saying? You just tick them off. That's on you. So it's the same thing with James Gunn. So when people say, you know, that's the risk of comedy, man. It can backfire. So whereas one demographic might be accepting of your comedy, take, for instance, the MCU fan, which anything written MCU on it, they're willing to give it a shot, right? Because Kevin Feige come true for them a number of times. So they trust in Kevin Feige. They trust in the DCU brain, MCU brain. So they give you a shot, even if you ain't nothing. Like, look how they did. Thor, Love and... what was it? Love and whatever it was called, right? Love and Thunder, right? Absolute crap, right? Waiko Watiti got 2 shots at it. Now, me as a DC fan looking at that, I'm like, that's crap, okay? They gave him a chance because they trusted in Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige delivered Endgame. He delivered Kevin Feige, not the Russo brothers. Kevin Feige delivered Endgame. He delivered what's the other one? Infinity War, right? They trust him because this guy's steering the ship. Now, they didn't even talk about it. Kevin Feige, man, you know, DC needs a Kevin Feige to steer the ship, right? You hear them say that. Damn, DC don't need no Kevin Feige, right? DC been doing it for a long time, and DC been doing it good. And DC just need to do what they do. DC need to do what Warner Brothers do. Let the directors do, live and die by their sword. They're not allowing that to happen anymore. They think it's too much of a risk, but that's just the way how DC is. You got a certain audience, you got to know what your audience is. So when James Gunn came across, you know, thinking he under the protection of Kevin Feige and stuff, and he gonna do his wild stuff, and you know, and he brought Kevin Feige across to see if he endorsed him or whatever. Listen, man, it don't work like that. This is DC. So where you may have been funny to a certain demographic, I'm not saying you wouldn't be funny with some of the demographic, but a lot of demographic get turned off by your stuff, and you think you're being edgy and everything, and no, it don't work. See. So you got to understand that for some people, you'll be funny. For some people, you're not funny. You got to change up your game and try and massage it and try and get your humor in to disarm them so that you can get down to be on board. At present, I'm going to break it down to y'all. I'm going to be real with y'all, right? I'm going to be totally real with y'all. He ain't doing it. He ain't cutting it right now. I'm just being real. I'm being real as a fan, as a DC fan. He ain't cutting it right now. You would give nobody nothing to be excited about, all right? On top of that, Harley Quinn riding a penis. She riding a penis with, what's her name? Poison Ivy. What we got there in the background? We got some monster on his balls, and we got King Shark on his balls. That just, nah, that ain't cutting it. That ain't cutting it. We don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? You might find that funny as a head of DC. We don't find it funny right now. Just don't. Just don't. I got more. I got more. Highly respected Aquaman. You're going to take this ninja and smash him into water drunk. I know it's a version of Aquaman. I know it's not the timeline Aquaman, but still, not funny. See, this is what executives do with their sequels. They make their sequels into jokes. I've seen it many a time where they would take a sequel, like they took the sequel of for Batman Returns. After Batman Returns, they made Batman Forever funny and wacky kind of villains, and then they went all wacky with Batman and Robin. We've seen it time and time again when executives get meddled in, they feel they need to have something that to make you laugh and stuff, because see, a lot of these executives don't live the everyday lives that you and I do, because they're making hundreds of millions of dollars every year. So to them, that's amusing. That's funny. So they're entertaining themselves. They're like, what about us? We need something to entertain us, right? So we want something for us now. And the audience will just have to laugh along with us. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're doing. And to me, that is so detached from reality. You can listen to David Zaslav talk, and you can realize this dude don't know nothing. He been making too many millions. He ain't in touch with the average Joe. He's not in touch with the average man. But Kevin Feige, he understood what kind of audience he was with. Even though he's making hundreds of millions of dollars, Kevin Feige understood his audience. I'm not saying he understood the common man, but he understood his audience. Oh, he got his audience. He knew what to do with his audience. He knew how he could get his audience to trust him. Right? So that he ended up, he couldn't do no wrong. His audience was defending him to the end. In fact, they started attacking DC and Zack Snyder. David Ayer said, F Marvel. And they went in on David Ayer. You know, like hounds, man. They went down on him. You know what I'm saying? Killing him. You know, Zack Snyder was, he talked about Iron Man, how it's just some B-rated thing. Man, they went in on Zack Snyder. You know what I'm saying? Because they would ride and die for Kevin Feige because he pulled through for them. He brought them what they wanted. Now, on DC's end, we got these executives who feel that they could copy Marvel. You can't copy something that's original. You got one shot at it. and it's gone. Because art is not like that. Art is not science, which is duplicatable. Art is art. It works one time because it's about originality. So with Kevin Feige, what he did with Marvel, and guess what? He right now having difficulty with Marvel. Marvel's in a difficult place because they can't do what they was doing before. The audience don't want that now. They want some more. They've been to the mountaintop. They had their end of the game. They had their Infinity War. They've been to the mountaintop. They don't want nothing less than that mountaintop now. So their standards are going way up. They now starting to understand what DC fans been understanding for a long time. They now starting to connect with what we've been saying all the time. Because we've been at that mountaintop several times, right? The Dark Knight, we've been there. Tim Burton's Batman 1989. Marvel didn't have nothing that could compete with Batman 1989, right? We've been there with Superman 1978. We've been there with Man of Steel, even though we've been at, I was at the mountaintop with that. I don't know about other people. I was at the mountaintop with Man of Steel, okay? I was like up there. I was on a high. And then Batman v Superman came, and I don't care how much controversy. I was in the cinema watching that thing. I watched that thing in the cinema 14 times, y'all. 14 times on IMAX and so on. I couldn't get enough of that thing. You know what I'm saying? And all I'm saying is this, right? I'm not trying to like hate on nobody or nothing, but see this Aquaman here lying down in the water right here? That's a disgrace, man. We have standards in DC, and a lot of people need to understand that. We're not saying you can't have a comedy, y'all. We're not saying you can't have jokes. What we're saying is we don't want no forced jokes. We don't want no manufactured comedy. If the movie's serious, let it be serious. If it's funny, let it be funny organically. We don't need no extra writers. We want a singular director's vision. It must be organic. It must be something that's funny. I laugh at jokes. I laugh at things that are funny because I know they're not manufactured. They're not commercialized. When you're funny, you're funny. But the stuff we get, it's not even funny. It's cringe, man. Look at this stuff. Look at this stuff. I'm going to show y'all some more stuff. It's cringe. That's why there ain't nobody watching this stuff in the cinema. Because they know, what the hell am I going to the cinema to watch this stuff for? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You're going to excuse me. I'm going to use some French right now. But I'm just reading what they said here, okay? Peacemaker. You're late, you fucking dickheads. That's what he said. Look, look, look. I'm reading it off of here. Okay? I'm not making this stuff up. You know what's his next word? This is because some lady, I think it's James Gunn's wife or whatever, she's dead in that version or whatever, I don't know. Or she's hurt. He says to Aquaman, man, so disrespectful. And this is supposed to be funny? Or this is supposed to be an emotional moment? Get out of here, ninja. He says, go fuck another fish, asshole. That's what he said. So you take the opportunity using a character called Peacemaker to disrespect the Justice League. You know what I'm saying? You're going to disrespect the Justice League. This is the same Justice League we just watched with Zack Snyder's Justice League, because Zack Snyder's Justice League came out a couple months before. We was on a high with them, and in your Peacemaker series, which comes right after, it came a couple months after, so Peacemaker came out a couple months after the Suicide Squad. And as you know, Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad got killed, right? Bloodsport killed him, right? But anyway, so the Peacemaker series you're seeing, at least from what I know, is supposed to be retroactive, all right? Giving the background of Peacemaker. But anyway, the point I'm making is I'm not saying that John Cena didn't do a great job as an actor. You know, John Cena is a good actor, man. He's a good actor. But what I'm saying is, they just saw Justice League. They was talking about restore the Snyderverse, and you gonna come and hit them with this, bro? Your timing is terrible. And it wasn't even a jokey moment. It wasn't even funny. You took shots, and we know it was at Zack Snyder. You talk about you love Zack Snyder. No, you took shots at Zack Snyder. You was hating on him. Okay? And so here we are. We're fans of DC, watching an eternal war. Zack Snyder never said nothing bad about you. He never threw shots at you, and you throwing shots at this dude. You throwing shots at this dude. And we supposed to support you and love your movies. Help me understand this, brother. We're not even unfairly criticizing you right now. Help me understand this, Mr. James Gunn. Then you single us out. You say there's this group, this minority. You know, you went in on us. You went in on us. You made us the enemy. We weren't trying to be an enemy with you. We was talking with you at the time. You went in on us. And then, after all of that, I don't even know why you did that. Like, why would you attack fans? Who in their right mind attacks fans? Not even Disney does that. But you adopt the same attitude of Toby Emmerich and Sarnoff, Jeff Johns, Walter Hamada. You adopt the same thing. You're the same dude. And Joss Whedon disrespected Wonder Woman on the screen. Had the Flash dry humping her. Right? Disrespected her on the screen. This is somebody Patty Jenkins took her time to develop so people would feel represented, and you disrespect her completely on the screen. Zack Snyder made her a badass, and y'all disrespected her on the screen. You know what I'm saying? That ain't right. There's some things that not funny. You know, comedians always feel everything's funny, right? So they can cross the line anywhere. Comedians feel that. Some things are just not funny, bro. You do it and you be the only person laughing in the room. Because guess what? Everybody be watching you like, that was cringe, bro. That was cringe. And they looking at you like food because they ready to whoop your tail. Beat you up. Bad. You know what I'm saying? Because people don't like that. It ain't funny. You have to know how to work your humor so that you can say things to people so they will laugh at it. And even when they laugh at it, it don't mean that they not gonna whoop your butt. You know what I'm saying? They may laugh. Hey, that was funny, man. And then, they start putting it down on you. You know what I'm saying? You say, but it was funny. But I'm still gonna whoop yo. You know what I'm saying? But that was funny though. I'm gonna give you that. Oh, so we got some people making some comments in here. Let me get to them. So we got Leroy Kong in the building. Shout out to Leroy Kong. What's up, brother? Hello to you, great live. James Gunn and these clowns have failed DC. Yeah, man, DC been dead for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We have to hope that with the sequel to the Batman that Matt Reeves is doing, we got to hope that that does well. And we have to hope that the Joker sequel that nobody asked for, that does well. So, you know, the sequels usually don't do as well as the originals, especially if the directors don't have the kind of control that they're supposed to have for these movies. But you know, never know. With Abdi and DeLuca as in charge, they may have more freedom. Kyle says, WBD has left the Snyderverse incomplete. Fans won't forget, and it will be known when Legacy is released, not a penny. The thing about it is, though, I mean, I can't really say what will happen with Legacy definitively because I don't know the future. But what I can say is from what I understand and how James Gunn does things and so on, I mean, he's a good writer. Don't get me wrong. He's a good writer. The thing about it is that it's an uphill battle. You're trying to reinvent the wheel that's already there. Like, nobody cares about a Superman solo movie like that. They wanted a Superman solo movie that would transition into Superman confronting Darkseid. You know, we want to see that big showdown. We want to see intergalactic stuff. We want to see the Green Lanterns. We want to see everybody together. We don't just want to see the Green Lanterns separately. We want to see everybody together. So you just decided, oh man, now everybody's at the peak now. Everybody's like, oh yeah, it's about to go down, baby. It's about to go down. And then you say, nah. Let's just start everything all over. Everybody be watching you like, what are you talking about, bro? That makes no sense. What are we doing here? You know? So that's the problem. Even if he was to do a great Man of Steel movie or a great Superman movie, I don't think much people would attend because not much people would care. They already saw that already. It's like it's been done before. And he seems as though he's trying to do a Superman movie where the Justice League's already present. It just don't work. I mean, Zack Snyder already broke that mold. He already brought a Justice League to the table. You know, we've seen the Justice League. Now we want to go with that Justice League and see where it would go and what adventures they would have. We're not interested in another Superman movie where the Justice League is present or whatever, a superhero is present. We're not interested in that. You know what I mean? And that's what he can't understand. And David Zaslav can't understand that. I think Abdi and DeLuca get what we're saying, but I don't think David Zaslav gets it. He don't get the memo, man. Gunn made sure he did everything possible to disrespect Zack Snyder's Justice League members. Yes, man. They really, not just him, but even James Wan is kind of complicit in that. James Wan, you know, his Aquaman. I didn't like what his Aquaman looked like, but again, it's his creative choice. He was the director, so if he ain't saying nothing about it, then it's cool. But I didn't like how he treated Aquaman, and he's treating Aquaman again. You know, they've been going for a comical slant, and they trying to tell a lot of jokes, and I just don't get it. Gunn is no friend of Zack's. I mean, I don't personally know them like that, so I can't really say. You know, I'm not going all the way there. I'm just going as a fan and just looking at things now. WBD labeled DC fans cultists. That's abhorrent. Not DC fans. He labeled Snyder Cut fans cultists. Yeah, I mean, they didn't call it. WBD didn't call us that, but the people in the industry started calling us that. And like, you just trying to make enemies with the fans. And then James Gunn didn't do anything to help the situation. He started off the jump like we were public enemy number one. So if we're public enemy number one and we're the ones that's supposed to give you money for your movies, you might as well fire yourself, because you know we're not going to support you. You just antagonized us. We're not going to support you. How do you expect us to support you when you start off? You start off everything from day one. You start off antagonizing. Well, if you're going to antagonize, don't expect the base to do anything with you, right? You know, and James Gunn, for some mind-altering reason, thinks that Marvel fans will suddenly become DC fans. That's not going to happen. And the Marvel fans that are becoming DC fans are becoming DC fans of Zack Snyder's stuff. That's the problem. So it's like you are, like we said, the best wine being left for last. It's just one of those situations where it's a no-win situation. And that's on them. I mean, the company has been continuously maligning directors, and auteur directors have been giving them treasures for decades, for years, you know, and they've been changing hands and executive hands and all of that, but they have not changed. Richard Donner would be rolling in his grave watching at what DC has become. Because Richard Donner intended to go places with DC, and I said this over and over again, and the studio stopped it. The studio stopped it. Okay? Because the people in the studio are not cinephiles. They're not lovers of film. And when you have people who don't care about film running things in film, you get what you get. Okay? Abdi and DeLuca love film. They produced revolutionary. In fact, you know what? I must bring up their resumes, because they got a hell of a resume. They remind me of Greg Silverman. And even though I listen to Greg Silverman, Greg Silverman's not necessarily a fan of what Zack Snyder necessarily always does, but he always supported. That's the thing. An executive doesn't have to agree with what the director is doing. All your job to do is support it, nurture it. That's all you have to do. It's so easy. Because if somebody's doing something new that other people do not understand, obviously they're going to relate with what they understand until they grow to understand what the director was actually doing. It took people decades, a decade or something, to understand what Man of Steel was doing and how great a movie it is, and how much of cinema it is. I did Not many people saw it, but I literally took Citizen Kane and I showed people how Rosebud, which is the last word that Mr. Kane said, how it linked to the BVS opening with the Martha moment in the beginning. When the father died in shock, he's looking at his wife and saying, "You too, Martha?" He says, "Martha," right? That's the only he could say. And I showed how that relates and it pays off. At the end of Citizen Kane, we find out what Rosebud is. That's the revelation. And at the end of BVS, when Batman's about to kill Superman, we understand the revelation of Martha and how that's important, right? We learn that Superman's mom is Martha, right? And that revelation is what saves Batman's life, because he's about to go become, he's about to become a villain, right? So it's like, and Rosebud, by the way, at the end of Citizen Kane, turned out to be Mr. Kane's sled that he used to play with as a child, which we always remind him and calm him down, remind him of the days when he wasn't competing with anyone. It wasn't about all this money. It wasn't about all this excellence. It was just about enjoying pure life. That's where Rosebud was in that movie. And in this movie, BVS, Martha turned out to be Superman. Grave, not his father's grave. Didn't care too much about it like that. Even though he loved his father, he tight to his mother. And throughout the film, you hear Lex Luthor saying, the most favorite lady in a man's life is his mom, right? And you hear that over and over, that theme about mothers throughout the movie, by the way. You should really check it out. It's a theme that runs. There's many themes that run in that movie, but that's one of them. And so that was a principal thing where Batman was able to redeem his mother, become hopeful again, and also empowered by saving Superman's mom. Because Superman told him to save his mom, right? And yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying is that's cinema. Cinema gives you something, okay? As Martin Scorsese says, why would I do a film if I'm not going to say something in that film? It doesn't have to be something I'm saying that is absolute, meaning, all right, I want these people to know this point. No, it doesn't have to be that. It can be something that asks a question. It could be something that opens up a conversation. It could be something that I was actually exploring myself. You understand? That's what cinema to me is. Cinema is about, in my opinion, touching you, helping you to feel something. Hold on a second. Yeah. So right. So as I was saying, cinema. Okay, so cinema can be something where you have a popcorn flick. We call them popcorn flicks. So like Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie said something. Captain America, the first Avenger, definitely said a lot. I love that movie. And you have other movies like Blade and so on that say a lot. Sam Raimi, Spider-Man says a lot. So these are movies that where when I say a movie says something, it doesn't mean that the director is intentionally, okay, this is what I want them to know, which is what kind of like the woke generation is doing now. They're forcing things down people's throats, but that's not what cinema is for. Cinema's not to be didactic. Okay, this is what you need to know. And that's not what cinema is about. All right? Cinema is showing you in an organic way life. And by you seeing that life, you see your life in that life. And then you are able to, it's kind of like a mirror. It is able to show you things about yourself that you may not have noticed, or show you things about the life around you that you take for granted. And that's what cinema does. Okay? It's not about trying to ram stuff down your throat, okay? And basically what I'm saying is that the challenge that James Gunn has with the DCEU is he's first got to get people excited about it. And I just don't see it. I don't see the excitement level for movies which, you know, can't top what we were going to get. It just can't. And no matter how much spin you say and how much people who are not DC fans try to talk about, you know, Darkseid, that's boring. You know, the Justice League facing Darkseid. Yeah, right. Yeah, so that means you didn't grow up on Justice League Unlimited. That means you didn't grow up on Justice League animated cartoons. That means you didn't really read DC Comics with the Big Showdown and the Final Crisis and all those things. Nah, you didn't read that, so don't worry about it. Yeah, right. DC, Justice League versus Darkseid. Come on, man. Nah, nobody wants to see that. You know what I mean? WBD labeled DC fans cultists. That's abhorrent, right? Okay, so we got the whole thing there. So all I'm saying to you guys, as I usually say is, as a big grown ass man, I'm saying that I'm not really interested in comic book movies for the sake of saying, oh, I see comic book characters on the screen. You all know I'm about content. Y'all know I'm about values, spirituality, that kind of thing. So for me, it's not that I wouldn't watch a comic book movie if necessary. I'm not saying that the comic book movies are devoid of any kind of material thing, but I haven't even watched Kick-Ass. I don't think Kick-Ass has any value to me. Why would I watch that? There's a lot of action, you know, rated R, whatever, but it never interests me because, again, it has to do with the cinematic value. So when people talk about, you know, The Boys and Kick-Ass, and I haven't watched The Kingsman, but I really am intrigued with The Kingsman. I really want to see that. Which all of those are Marvel movies, by the way, if you didn't know. Those are good movies. I don't know about Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass doesn't feel like a good movie, but then again, it feels like cosplayers kicking around and fighting each other, and there's lots of blood, to be honest with you. What I forgot to tell you guys is that, you know, here are some of the cinematic movies that I appreciate of Marvel. Because there is cinema in Marvel. I just don't think currently and in recent times there has been much cinema. But Blade, X-Men, Spider-Man, Blade 2. I think those are cinematic stuff. X2. Even though Bryan Singer, you know, been accused of different things, he's still a hell of a director. The Punisher, Iron Man, Spider-Man 2, Captain America: The First Avenger, absolutely, even though it was a box office flop. X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men First Class. Most of the X-Men movies I thought were great cinema. Logan, Black Panther, Men in Black 2, you know. I always thought those were cinematic stuff. And Men in Black and Men in Black 2 was kind of funny, you know. And that's why I said you can have comedy, you know, in a movie. I think in the second one, I think they had Michael Jackson in it. And so that you can have humor, you can have cinematic experience with humor. Nobody's saying you can't have something that's funny. But you have to understand that it must be organically funny. It could even be a smutty humor, sexual humor, whatever. But it has to be something where the comedian is very conscious that the audience can be offended by something. Meaning, when you, okay, so you're not writing stuff for people, obviously. You're writing it because it's personally funny to you. But having said that, how you couch it and how you, that's something that Dave Chappelle is very good at doing. He will say some extremely offensive stuff. But the way how he crafts it, the way how he couches it, you're going to understand why he said that, and it's going to come off funny. You're going to laugh. And that's the thing about certain stuff, you know. I've seen people say racist things in jokes and pull it off because as much as it was racist, it was funnier. It was funny to hear the racism. It's funny sometimes for somebody to be chauvinistic. It's just funny how they the way how they put it together. So you can straddle that line and yet be funny. And because you've been funny, people listen to you. They don't like what you said, but it was funny. And you have to acknowledge that. And that's the difference between what they're, because I understand, you know, that the woke environment is trying to kind of censor comedians. But at the same time, you're not just doing things for doing things' sake. You're not going to just curse because you can curse. You're not just going to use sexual smuttiness and smut down the place because you're free to smut down the place. That's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Immature, you know, approach to doing things. You do things with a point. You do things with a not necessarily a point, but you do things with some sort of, you know, reason why you're doing them. That makes sense. That someone who's you want to be able to cognitively meet people at a certain place, and they turn around and say, but you know, that actually makes sense, even though, you know, I never thought of it that way. So it's kind of like that, you know, because comedians do think differently to how the average person would think. And that's what I think brings about the aha moment and also the humor in what they do. And so, you know, and the other thing is, some people are mean. Some people, they use humor as a way to be mean. And if you see through that humor and you realize what they're really saying, you don't laugh at it. It's not funny. So it's all of that that also plays a role in, because there are people who use humor harmlessly, right? They're not trying to attack people with it. And as a result, because of that, people actually enjoy their humor because they realize that the place they're coming from is not a place of meanness or evil. Because some people are mean, okay? And they use humor as a weapon to get what they want to say. Whereas there are other people who, they're not mean. And so their intentions are pure. They're just wanting you to laugh at things. And even if they are mocking something, it's not in the spirit of meanness that they're doing it. So there's all those little things in there that you have to consider when you talk about comedy. Comedy is a very interesting and very difficult thing to pull off anyway. So if you crash and burn, you just get up and try and do it again. You got to be thick-skinned to do humor. You know, yeah. So basically what I'm saying to you guys is that I've gone on an hour and 23 minutes. I think I've outspoken my time. Is that DC is a vessel where the audience fundamentally, as you know, is different to the audience of the MCU. It's just fundamentally different. The people think a little bit different. They operate a little different. They've been exposed to quality movies. And a lot of people who go to see DC, or a lot of people who watch DC movies, are people who generally wouldn't watch superhero movies, period. They probably wouldn't watch it. But because they know DC will bring something different and something new to the table, because they're probably people who don't watch, most of them are probably people who don't watch the MCU, period. Okay? And so you would see them come out to see things like Avatar. You'll see them come out and see things like Lord of the Rings, maybe. Or, so even if it's fantasy, it's kind of grounded and it's something to say something about something. And, you know, they want the human experience. A lot of people want the human experience. They don't want just to be in a fantastical place where they're detached from characters. And I know this sounds weird because people will be like, well, you know, the MCU has a human experience. You see these characters go through. Yeah, but they don't feel real. And when I say that to some people, they look at me like, but that they're more real than these fantastical superheroes with all these superpowers and all these things. And I say, yes, in terms of physicality, yes. But in terms of emotional connectivity to our world and what goes on in our world, no. They tell jokes that sort of capture some of the things, and you'd be like, that happens in our world. But people don't joke like that. People are not 24/7 comedians throwing quick quips all the time. The people are not like that. The real world's not like that. The real world's not on comedy on steroids. People don't just recover from a loss like that. So like, the loss happened. Okay, fine. And then all of a sudden they're happy and gay again. No, that doesn't happen. Real life is not like that. That's a construct you made for your world. You think people in the normal world would just be so forgiving? You just level the whole city in a tremendous intergalactic fight, and people are just going to be cool with that? And people are not cool about 9/11. There was conspiracy theories, all kinds of things happening there. People didn't recover like that. Real life's not like that. So, it satisfies the common notion of what a comic book movie is. What people think comic book movies are. A popcorn flick. Don't take anything too seriously. Just a take-home message at the end. Neatly tied up in a bow. And let's all go on with our lives now. And you're none the better for it. And nobody's mad at it. Who used to do something like that? It's so weird. He gets bashed for it now. But what's the guy's name? The Transformer movie guy. The guy who did all those Transformer movies. Michael Bay. A Michael Bay Bad Boys film. Bad Boys is entertaining as hell. Okay? Entertaining. Michael Bay. Bad Boys. Y'all like Bad Boys. But in the end of Bad Boys, have you gained anything? Do you leave the cinema thinking or contemplating anything? Do you look at yourself introspectively in any way, shape, or form? Absolutely not. It's a popcorn flick. Fast and Furious franchise. Any introspection, anything like that? No, it's a popcorn flick. Right? So you can have popcorn flicks, and then you could have movies that make you think about yourself, make you think around the world about you, touch you in some sort of place. Like Sound of Freedom. Like Batman v Superman. Like Zack Snyder's Justice League. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Because Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is an introspective Spider-Man. It's not a flippant Spider-Man. And as Spider-Man's learning things, as he's going through this journey, because he goes through a journey between Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, he has tough decisions to make. Hard decisions. In Spider-Man 1, at the end of Spider-Man 1, he has his best friend there. And he can't tell him that he was fighting his father. Just keep it quiet. And then when his best friend finds out in Spider-Man 2, all hell breaks loose. Or was it Spider-Man 3? I can't remember which one. Right? And all of these people have sort of semi-tragic stories, right? That's what makes Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 and 2 such great movies. Right? Because you can empathize with these people. They have challenges. Just because they're superheroes or supervillains don't mean they don't have good or bad sides to them, likable sides to them. They're not just cookie cutter stuff. They're not one-dimensional. They're not some fabrication from a collaboration of a committee where you need to make a joke here. All right, we need to have this spruced up right here. We need more action here, more action. Getting all these stupid notes. Formulaic. I've said enough. I'm going to catch you guys later. I am Christ, I am disciple. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. I will catch you guys later at another time. If you do appreciate what I do and you want to donate to my channel, you can donate via PayPal, but you're not going to see the link in this particular video. You may see the link in another video, but nonetheless, if you want to donate via PayPal, I will put the link after this video has finished and uploaded and all that. I'll put the link. But I want to wish you guys a blessed day. God be with you all. Let us not bash our leaders. Even though I'm saying these things about James Gunn, notice I didn't go into his personal life. I tried to talk factual information. I still wish him nothing but the best once he is the head of the DCU. You know, DC has to win one way or the other. I do push, though, for restoring the Snyderverse. I do genuinely want to see that come back. I do want to see Zack Snyder's Justice League see IMAX. I think it's a travesty that it hasn't seen IMAX globally. Abdi and DeLuca opened the doors to Zack to have it be shown in a screening, which was great. But we really want to see it, and I don't care. I just want to see it in cinemas. I think it can happen this year still, even though we're close to October now. It's very close to October. September's almost done. And they haven't said anything about it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it does get into cinemas. Because, again, I don't really care whether James Gunn's universe continues or not. I don't care really much for it, to be honest with you. If they want to fire him, they fire him. If they don't, I think he should be fired. That's my personal opinion. I don't think he's a good look for DC. I don't think he's a good fit for DC. That's my personal opinion. Whether they fire him or not, Zack Snyder Justice League should see cinemas. They should restore the Snyderverse. Whether they fire him or not, I think he's going to get fired ultimately in the end because I don't think he's going to produce anything that's going to actually make money in the cinema. That's my personal opinion. I don't know what exactly will happen. I don't know the future. I don't have a crystal ball. But me personally, I think he's anticlimactic to what we expect and want. And Zack obviously excites not just Zack Snyder fans, but the average person who doesn't even know anything much about DC. Just the average audience person loves what he's done. And then that movie's so good. Like I said, the best wine for last. It's so good that it's just a travesty that thing doesn't see cinemas. I don't care that it's 4 hours long. I know if people go into the cinema, especially to see it for the first time in IMAX, you know, you have that mid-break and then you go back and you see the rest of this, it's going to be an experience to have. And I've seen it, so I know it's an experience to have. You know, and there's very few people who are salty and they talk about this and that and the other. And I really can care less for them. They're probably the ones that like DC as it is right now. And which to me is trash. That's my personal opinion. That has nothing to do with, you know. I think that would be awesome for this year. That would make my year, actually. I would definitely go see that in cinemas, and IMAX particularly. I'm not really so much excited for it in cinemas. I'm excited for it in IMAX because this year we still got The Creator. This year we also have Killers of the Flower Moon. I definitely would like to see that in the theater as well. I wouldn't want to see that necessarily on a small screen. And we have some other things to look forward to. Not interested in anything that DC has to offer otherwise. I'm not even interested in the Joker sequel. Once upon a time I was, and then I was like, this sequel shouldn't even be happening. The first one was good enough. I don't want to see no second one. And then I'm not interested in Matt Reeves' Batman franchise right now, you know. So when it comes down to DC, the only thing I'm really interested in right now, live action, is seeing Zack Snyder's Justice League into cinemas. If next year they want to put out the Air cut, I'll definitely go see that. And of course, if Ben Affleck's Batman movie ends up being made in 2025, I'll definitely go see that. I know there's none of those movies on Warner Brothers DC roster for upcoming movies. Instead, they want to do some extra repeat, a sequel of Beetlejuice, which just doesn't make any sense. Michael Keaton doesn't even care about that. Like, they're doing things, they're trying to rehash stuff that they have. And it's just not making any sense. It shows us they have no vision, they don't have any original IPs they want to push forward. there's a brain drain somewhere in that company. And like, they don't know what to do with their IPs. They don't know what to do with their properties. So some people still pushing the sell to Netflix the Zack Snyder stuff and all that. I would say this. Is it an option? I guess it still is. But I don't think that Warner will make some kind of money. So that could happen. I don't know what will happen with Joker, Todd Phillips' Joker. I do believe Todd Phillips is a great director, so he may pull it off with Joker Part 2. She says it's going to be a musical or something like that. But me personally, I really don't care for none of that stuff. You know, I'm more interested in the Snyderverse. I'm interested in Patty Jenkins directing a Wonder Woman movie with the right people around her, the right materials to do it, you know, so she could kind of replicate the success she had with Wonder Woman 2017. I know that James Gunn has his own Wonder Woman, he has his own Superman. He's got younger folks so they can last longer. But quite frankly, not interested in them, just not. And I don't think I'll change my mind on that. I think my mind's locked in on seeing the Snyderverse come forward because DC has been flopping all over the place, showing that whatever James Gunn's direction is and Hamada 2.0 direction, it's not going to do anything. And we kind of already figured that out. James Gunn just talking. We don't care what you say, brother. We care what you do. And so far, you haven't done nothing. So I have zero faith in James Gunn's whatever he's going to do. And that's the truth. It's how heavy holds the head that wears the crown. He should be understanding that and agreeing with us that he ain't done nothing. So, I mean, it is what it is. I am Christ, I am disciple. I hope you guys have a good one. Spread love, don't spread hate. Keep those hashtags going. Restore the Snyderverse. I love it. I love when I see you guys doing the Restore the Snyderverse. If y'all guys ain't checked it out, check out my poll. I am APGM46 on Twitter. Check out my poll. If you haven't voted, vote please. I don't care what you vote. And also, just if there are other people out there of you that want to do the poll, please do the poll. Do the poll because it will show. And do other polls. I don't care. Just do polls. You know what I'm saying? Listen, y'all gotta understand something. We are proactive as a group. We are not people who are victims. We know we got what we wanted. So if we're pressing forward with the Snyderverse, let's do things. I told people, y'all cosplay. I saw my boy, Captain Salute. Shout out to Captain Salute from Twitter if he ever sees this. I saw him cosplaying Batfleck stuff and stuff, and I endorsed it. I was like, you know, showing some love to him and stuff. And a lot of people showed him love. That's what we need to do. Just keep on keeping the thing alive by doing cosplays and stuff. Now, there's one more thing I gotta say. Rebel Moon. Listen, man, you don't want to miss this event. Rebel Moon is awesome. It's gonna be great. December the 20th. Every opportunity I get, I'm gonna hype up Rebel Moon from here on in. Because Rebel Moon's coming up December. For surety, it's coming up December 22nd. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm looking forward to the first chapter of that thing. It's gonna be great. I know it because I watch all Zack Snyder's movies. I know he's gonna have a twist or something in it that's gonna throw us off. I don't care. I like Zack Snyder stuff. So I'm looking forward to that big bash with Rebel Moon. But in the meantime, I'm still pushing. I'm pushing very, very hard to see Zack Snyder's Justice League. See theaters November the 17th, which is the anniversary of the first Justice League animated series. We want to see Zack Snyder's Justice League in cinemas, right the wrongs, get rid of that Justice League 2017 garbage that was there, and replace it with the anniversary of Zack Snyder's Justice League, knowing that it's been in theaters. I know the thing will do its own thing. It will perform. You know, I know it will do it. If it gets into IMAX on cinemas, it's going to kill it. But we have to, I know it's 2 years old and all of that. It doesn't really matter. It's going to go in there and kill it. It's going to do great numbers. You know, Warner Brothers is going to make some money again. And on top of that, we will have the joy of seeing it on the biggest possible screen we possibly see. Well, I definitely want to see that thing on IMAX. I don't care how it happens. I'm going to catch you guys later. I am Christ. I am disciple. God be with you guys. Most High come first. For me, I hope he does for you. Have a good one. Peace.